Biztech's C-Suite Conversation Show. Hi, I'm Brian Fernandez, and today we have with us Terry Taylor, Chief Operating Officer of the Access Group. The Access Group is one of the leading providers of business management software to small and mid-sized organizations in the UK, Ireland, US, and the Asia-Pacific region. They help over 100,000 customers across commercial and non-profit centers. With that, we'd like to welcome Terry to the show.
Brian, welcome, and thanks for inviting me on the show. And it's great to be back in Asia. You know, we talked earlier, I'd spent a lot of time here in my early career, and it's really good to be back and meeting you yesterday.
Now, tell us a little bit more about the Access Group. So, Terry, you come from a big company background, with the likes of Microsoft and Salesforce, and you joined the small company Access Group many years ago, and then proceeded through its turbocharged growth. Talk to us about its history and what your footprint looks like regionally as well as globally.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've been in software 31 years, right? Thanks to the software industry is an amazing industry. It's constantly going through change. It's constantly evolving. But ultimately, you're trying to help businesses or consumers or charities do things faster, do things more efficient, be better. So it's really about helping businesses grow. So I came to Access about 9 years ago. I came to this little company in the UK, but it's been going for nearly 15 years before that. We had our first big private equity investment from TA Associates, and we wanted to grow the business. And I think Access really sweet spot is mid-market, SMB, mission-critical applications. So if you're running a hotel, if you're running a bar, or you're running a recruitment agency or a legal firm, we look for products that are mission critical for them to operate as a company. So that's our sweet spot. And we're very, very specialist in going in and having domain knowledge of the legal sector, the hospitality sector, the construction sector. So very, very niche. And obviously the software we buy is SaaS-based software, subscription-based models, all the model trends. And what we're trying to do is help these mid-market companies that don't have a big IT function have a partner that's easy to buy from. Value transfer is the most important thing. We can't have big professional services organizations. How do you transfer the value very quickly? And then how do we keep those customers for life? So that is really our business model. So we started small. We used to do 1 or 2 acquisitions a year, and we learned that that wasn't very ambitious. And what we did is we were doing 10 acquisitions a year. But the difference is we've done about 100 so far. You have to make sure when you acquire a business, you're adding value to that acquired business. You want that revenue for life. So generally, the business we buy have sort of tapped out in market size. They can't grow any further with the team they have. So they come to somewhere like Access as a good home where we have world-class marketing, world-class sales, world-class operations, hosting operations, and we're able to grow those businesses and make sure the end customer, we expose them to other applications they may not have, where it's expense applications, HR applications, finance applications, recruitment applications. So we may start with one application from the customer, but over time, we wrap a number of applications around that customer as their needs evolve. And that is delivered through our Evo platform, which is the common denominator for all these pieces of software. Does that help, Brian? Does that give you context?
Yes, it gives us great context. So literally, it's a farmer strategy. You're going to get in with one product, and then after that, expand out and basically integrate solutions for the customer to give them better value.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, is you have to get the equation right between value for the customer. At the end of the day, is the customer's got a choice. If we can make it easy for them to buy from us, and it's easy for them to add value to their business. Remember, they don't have big IT departments. These are business user buyers. So our job is to make our stuff very easy to consume. So and we add value, and we give them a roadmap, and hopefully they generally buy more than one product always.
Now, in the Asia Pacific region, and I want to talk about specifically Malaysia. You've just opened a center in Malaysia, but you've been in Malaysia since 2018 through some acquisitions. Walk us through that and how that gave you those acquisitions in 2018 gave you your Asia Pacific footprint?
Okay, so we didn't need to go global. There's enough business in the UK for us to really go to £20 billion company. It's not a challenge for us in the UK, but we know we wanted to go international. We created a 10-point criteria, and when we looked at, we found this company in Australia, and it just met our criteria. But it was very, very far away. But I've worked in global companies. You know how to solve those problems in time. But when you're in one country and you're entering another country, you have to think about how you're globalizing as an organization. So when we did the first acquisition, it was a great acquisition for us. But then we'll start buying more. When we go into a country, we'll generally do about 20 to 30 acquisitions over the life cycle. Because we're in the country, understand the ecosystem. We will have our M&A people there looking at opportunities, and we're looking for synergistic opportunities. So if we're going into Australia in the hospitality sector, then we will look for companies that serve the hospitality market and the mid-market, and they would be our targets to buy and integrate and consume. Because ultimately, Brian, we're trying to give a proposition back to customers and say, ANZ, we have hospitality businesses. So when you buy these businesses, you don't always, you know what you're buying, but they'll have operations all around the world sometimes. So you inherit locations, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Vietnam, and all these places, because you're buying those companies. And then what we do is we analyze how do we best build our global operations to support those businesses in the countries. So we inherited people in Malaysia. But as I spoke to you earlier, I'd spent time in APAC. I knew how good Malaysia was. So it was very easy for us to make the decision that we've some employees here. We did our analysis. The talent pool is amazing. It's a very stable company. It's very supported by the government. And we thought this is a really good place to build a hub. So no matter what we buy, we will be able to serve them from our Go Center in Malaysia. And imagine we buy another company in, say, 3 years' time. It's a huge, say, Philippines back office potentially. Then we'll sort of integrate them into our global operating model. And the difference between our Go Centers and maybe other places, we like to develop product there, support the product there, product manage the product there, sales and marketing. We have a fully integrated stack because our efficiency comes from how these functions in the company work together to innovate and go fast. Because, Brian, we have a playbook for all these companies, how we do marketing, digital marketing, how we do sales on Salesforce platform, how we do lead gen, how we do customer success, professional services, digital. So we have an exact menu of things we do to go back to the original proposition of the customer is easy to buy from, value transfer, and how we keep them for life. And that's why the Go Centers are really important. So when you buy the companies, you assimilate them to the operating model. And that's what our success has been.
And your Go Center, then you've got a Go Center in Romania as well, as an example. How will you then split the work as you acquire new, more and more companies? Because as you said, you do 10 acquisitions a year. You're a very acquisitive company. Integration obviously becomes a cookie cutter. You've got a set playbook that you work with. How are you going to split the work between your various Go Centers? Or will that be concentrated in certain Go Centers only, depending on geographical region?
Yeah. So we started earlier. When we originally, when the UK and we bought the companies in Australia, I mean, everybody's on the telephones in the morning at night, right? So the first thing, you want to decentralize as quick as you can. So you want to have, I call it access operating time zone independence, right? So if we're growing aggressively in Southeast Asia and ANZ, then you want that as a little access unit operating the playbook in their time zone, right? So it's more convenient for them to collaborate and work. So that is one level. You've got Europe, you've got APAC time zone, and then we'll have our Americas time zone. So you want to make sure your global operating centers are in the time zones. The second thing is then you want to look at centers of excellence. Where is the centers of excellence for, say, cybersecurity? Where is the centers of excellence for cloud computing? Where is the center of excellence for, say, renewals management? And we may build them in multiple locations, right, depending on the scale. So it's really, we sort of look at we look at use cases, and we evolve, right? We're quite an agile company. You know, we're a learning company, right? We'll learn an idea from anybody, but when we learn an idea, then we'll try and master the idea to make the business. So what we'll try to do is, if we've got 22 software companies spread across the world. Generally, our software companies are region specific. We don't have a lot of global products like a Sales Cloud or a Salesforce. We have very localized products. We have some global. And then what we'll try and do is put all those resources in the same value chain as much as we can. Now, obviously, in the country, you want field sales, marketing, HR, but some of the digital stuff can be done from anywhere in the world. But we try to do it as close as possible in the time zone. And we're looking for multi-language as well. So when we look at we want the value chain, so we'll develop the product manage the product, market the product from a GOC as much as we can. Because it's about innovation. We're moving to the AI world. We talked about Evo, we talked about AI. So when you've got about 150 products, how do you quickly get them to the AI version of Evo? Has to happen. And then how do the support people get trained on it? How do you release those new features? So when you have proximity, you have innovation. And that's the bet we're playing in. But we're not like some outsourcing center. We're actually building innovation centers. And we will measure ourselves on how fast we can do things. And ultimately, the voting machine is the customer. If they think it's good, they'll buy it. If they don't think it's good, they won't buy it. But you have to be able to react very quickly to those propositions. So if you're not scattered everywhere, that slows things down. But if you sort of build these hubs, so obviously, in Australia, we've got 3 or 4 offices there, and we've got KL. That is the value chain for APAC and building. Does that answer your question? It's about
yes, it does. And I want to drop in a little anecdote that I got from meeting your leadership team yesterday. I was stunned to find out that in the process of setting up the Go Center in Malaysia, so I think you looked at 12 countries and then narrowed it down to 9, and then 6, then 2, then I think 3, and then 1. But then what stunned me was you took the decision to do this in December, and the center was up in July. That's phenomenal in terms of setting something up so quickly and getting it operational. It lends to all the things that you said about being fast moving and innovative. How do you drive that culture? What's the secret sauce there?
Yeah, I mean, maybe John, although we're a big company or in terms of sort of revenue in the billions of pounds area, we try to act like a small company. You've got to act small, right? So when we make a decision about the Go Centers, is the first thing we say, well, what's it going to be? Very clear the vision of what's going to be. And we decided very early that we wanted to be in a skyscraper, right? So we borrowed my old Salesforce strategy. We've got to build our campus in the sky. Because the first campus we built took us 5 years, and it doesn't work. You want to be quite quickly. So we built the campus in the sky. So let's find a location where our employees actually want to come to, because we're coming out of the COVID era. And it's great being at home digitally, right? COVID was very good for Access because we went completely digital during COVID. But at the end of the day, innovation doesn't happen in your bedroom with everybody in screens. You've got to be together. That's where the ideas come from. And cohesion comes from being together, right? Eating together, being together. So the idea is, let's have a really nice location. Let's make it easy for employees to get to. So we want to have our green credentials as well. Let's make sure the right architects, but the secret sauce is the people. Let's bring the people in. Let's meet with the universities and build early careers programs, because we have to train them on the Access way, which, by the way, the Access way is an evolving playbook, because we're not arrogant to think we have all the answers. We're a learning company. But sometimes when you bring leaders in or mid-managers from another company, they're just trained in a different way of how they develop people, support people, manage people. That entrepreneurial spirit we're trying to harness from early in. So in the Go Centers, we like to promote 40% of people from within. So we start in the pyramid, bring them from university, move them up, we move them to jobs, and they learn Access. They become shareholders in Access, and they can build the career. The secret sauce is the people. and the playbook. And we've already seen Malaysia, they're giving us some new playbook ideas we haven't seen before. And we like that. So we're trying to export the
Share
best.
some examples. What are the new playbook ideas that you've sourced from Malaysia?
I mean, there was one, we had a product that we've had for a long time. And, we really wanted to get it into the cloud. And we just had a combination. We had a dev team that said, I think we can get it to Evo. And then they knew of another product that was based in the region. If we combine two of the functionalities, we could deliver more value to that end customer. So we call it a napkin idea. And Chris called the lady out in our all hands call when we were with the employees. And she came up with the idea of a napkin. She spoke to the head of development. They hooked in someone else, and they're going live in a few weeks, right? With this new Evo proposition to the same customer. Because ultimately, the customers want a trusted vendor. If we can bring them new functionality, they'll buy it. Our job is to make it easy for them to consume cloud, make it easy for them to consume AI. That is our job. So that was an example of just a few people getting together, come up with an idea, and that's the difference between Access. You can get stuff done quite quickly. And we fail fast. If it doesn't work, okay, let's try again. And that is because they were all in the same building, all on the same floor, and we empower people because we're very transparent. Everyone understands the strategy, everyone understands where we're going, and they're able to innovate themselves. And if we could use this idea 3 or 4 times, then it might become standard.
Now, Terry, one of the key things is you're in the SMB space, and your sweet spot, as you mentioned, is legal. It's an F&B as well, among other areas. That's quite a competitive landscape across, and let's use, say, in the APAC region, we use ASEAN as an example. Disparate cultures, disparate markets where people use ASEAN as a broad stroke, 10 countries. But the reality is they're very, very different operating countries. You've got the likes of Singapore, but you also have the likes of Cambodia. How do you stay ahead of the competition?
So you have to pick your markets, right? So we think about global international, obviously the UK we're in, and parts of Europe. North America, we're going to go in very big. We've done a few acquisitions there. We're going to double in size there. And in APAC, predominantly, we're looking at ANZ. That is really predominantly where we're looking to do our acquisitions. But when you do acquisitions ANZ, you naturally pick up customers in mostly Southeast Asia, right? We don't have any lenses on China, maybe on Japan right now, India, very, very competitive and very different markets. But Southeast Asia is quite a booming environment. So I think you build confidence as obviously we've got a Go Center, we've got all the multilingual, we've got people that understand the region. And that is a hopping off point to say, oh, is there any companies in really Southeast Asia we're not capable of buying? Because a few years ago, we probably wouldn't have been able to integrate them efficiently. But now we have a Go Center and we're going to scale to 1,000 people. We'll have a lot more confidence to say, okay, so we could build, is there a hospitality player that serves Southeast Asia? Is there a legal platform that serves the legal community of Southeast Asia? Is there a recruitment platform that serves? So we're looking for common platforms that are mission critical apps that maybe multi-countries will use. And, Vietnam's very different to Malaysia. Malaysia, very similar to Singapore. Singapore is very similar to Malaysia, right? So Philippines is different again, but you have to pick the sectors. So our acquisitions teams are very active. They're looking at all these companies. They're looking at little SaaS companies that are growing, and can we sort of buy them and scale them? Scaling is the important thing. Can you scale them? So yeah, we're always looking. And people will come to us because we're a good home for their acquisition. Most people who are selling, firstly, they want their valuation price, but also they want a good place for their employees to land. And it's back to we're a very employee-centric company. And the people we acquire, they can build careers with us. And that the secret sauce of Access is if we invest in our people, they learn the model, they innovate in the model, we have a very steady company that can acquire all these and integrate all these companies, because acquisition is part of our operating model.
And Terry, that's really, really interesting because I know a lot of founders who've sold out and regretted selling out, not because they didn't get the money that they wanted or the valuation. It's the fact that the company's core culture was lost, that nimbleness was actually lost. The employees were not that happy. They all left after 2 years, and I think that that's really quite an interesting thing that people neglect to think about a lot.
Yeah, and my experience, 100 companies, different people, is the employees have to vote where they want to be, right? We are a high performance, fast paced company, right? We're a dynamic company, and if you like that, it's great. I mean, it's great because it's the university of software. I'm sure you can go to Microsoft and Google, but you're actually in writing, developing, selling, releasing, mid-market. You have to be on quite the edge of value transfer. You have to really be designing your services like download an application easy to use. You have to get very obsessed with the transfer of value. For example, I run professional services. We don't talk about professional services. We talk about flight paths. Every product comes with a flight path. What's a flight path? Well, it's a way of the customer buys the software and he picks a way they want to implement it. It exactly says what it does in the tin, and we deliver against that. So once a day, we say, what do you want next? Oh, I'd like to do this. So we go on a journey. When you sell a product to a customer, that's just the start of the relationship. You have to think about the customer for life, and their requirements change. So for the employees, in my experience, if you buy a company with 50 employees, percentage of the employees were like the old world. It was small, it was 50, they knew everybody. We still look like a corporation sometimes now. But the other 50% were like, wow, look at the career opportunities. Yeah, I could develop some other product, or I could be in a marketing team or the sales team, or, so they see an opportunity to grow their careers. So I think you just have to be honest that let the employees vote. Is Access something for them? Or do they really like a smaller, more sort of focused sort of company? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're all good people. But the good thing about the software industry and our employees is they're so well trained, they're very attractive to other employers because we invest a lot in teaching them the tricks of teach them sort of how to be a world-class software company. And I'm hoping one day for 1,000 people in 10 years' time, you and me are talking, and some of our employees have left Access and started their own SaaS companies or their own AI companies, because that's really the success stories, right? When we can be a catalyst for people to have the confidence to start their own software companies. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Terry, now, with the end of 2024 right now, what's 2025 and 2026 looking like for the Access Group?
Go, 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 and don't stop. I think the Access Group, we look for Access Group is, I think fundamentally we have a business plan we want to here too. We're hoping the markets will settle down a little bit, during the last few years, much higher interest rates. People weren't sort of, the acquisition market was quite low, but now the market's coming back a little bit, so our full operating model can work. I think what we're looking for is to get much more run like a small business, so moving our divisions to like 22 software companies, making sure they're staffed up in the right way. It's about adopting the best practices to grow those companies. It is about our geo expansion in North America and being competitive when there's a good acquisition in Asia that we can execute on it quickly. It is about having some fun, right? Let's have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's have successes because people enjoy. And it comes down to, and it sounds corny, we use it, love work, love life, be you. That's our global proposition, employees. Love your work. So we're going to make sure people have dynamic, interesting jobs, and we'll push them to take on more challenges. Love life, good employer. We want to be part of the community. They enjoy their life. But most importantly, be you. We're a global company. We have global talent from global backgrounds. We have to let people bring their authentic self to work, be themselves, and we'll get the most out of them. So I think John mentioned, yes, secret sauce is we want people to feel that they can self-actualize male, female, whatever nationality, they can self-actualize and access and find something they want. And for me, long in the tooth, when I think about my software career, I mean, I was lucky to join AT&T. We built a self-service checkout. I had a brilliant boss, Joanna. We built a self-service checkout in America. I went to Microsoft to give me an amazing career, right? Amazing career. It allowed me to work in Asia and Central Eastern Europe and America. They give me those opportunities. Went to Salesforce, Mark Benioff. At the end of the day, my job is to create an environment where these people can self-actualize. And they self-actualize, the business does really well. It's not rocket science.
On that note, Terry, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Listen, Brett, thanks for coming to see us and thanks for having the chat.
Now, we've been speaking to Terry Taylor, Chief Operating Officer of the Access Group. I'm Brian Fernandez, and we've been watching and listening to the C-Suite Conversation Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.